Chip Titans clash, TSMC versus Intel.
Welcome to the Deep Dive, where we cut through the noise and get straight to the most important insights in the world's most complex topics. Today we're plunging into an industry that, well, it's often unseen, but it's the fundamental engine driving our entire digital world. I mean, think about it. From the smartphone in your hand to the vast data centers powering AI, it's all built on these tiny, incredibly intricate chips. Our mission today is a deep dive into the fascinating, complex, and rapidly evolving relationship between two of the industry's absolute titans, Intel and Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company, or TSMC as most people know it. We'll unpack recent developments, some surprising financial shifts, strategic pivots, and of course the global forces shaping their future. So if you've ever wondered what truly powers your devices, or how geopolitics plays out on the bleeding edge of technology, well, this deep dive is definitely for you.
That's exactly right. And the story of Intel and TSMC, it isn't just about corporate rivalry. It's really a microcosm of global innovation, supply chain resilience, and that relentless pursuit of technological advantage that affects literally everyone, from consumers like us to entire governments.
Okay, with that context, let's plunge into the numbers, because they really highlight this dramatic shift. For decades, Intel was, the undisputed champion, the Silicon King, with its integrated device manufacturer, or IDM, model. But the landscape has dramatically changed. What does that look like in real terms?
Well, what's fascinating here is that this isn't just a change in leadership. It's actually a fundamental shift in business models. Intel's rigid vertical integration, designing, manufacturing, and selling its own chips that once gave it unparalleled control. But that very model, it's now proving to be something of a liability compared to TSMC's much more agile pure-play foundry model. They solely focus on manufacturing at scale for a really diverse client base.
And Intel's Q1 2025 results certainly seem to underscore these challenges, don't they?
Oh, they absolutely do. Intel's revenue, it stagnated at $12.7 billion. That's flat year over year. They even reported a GAAP net loss of $0.8 billion. And maybe even more telling, their gross margin shrank to a pretty concerning 36.9%. Plus, their client computing group, the part that makes chips for PCs, actually fell 8% year over year.
Wow, those aren't just bad numbers.
No, they're not. They're a stark illustration of how Intel's foundational IDM model, which used to be its undisputed superpower, is now actively bleeding value. I mean, this isn't just one tough quarter. It feels like the market's brutal judgment on a decades-old strategy that's maybe failing to adapt, especially in its core PC business.
It's a very stark picture indeed. How does TSMC stack up against that, especially in the same Q1 period?
It's a very, very stark contrast. In that same period, TSMC achieved $839.25 billion, which is roughly $24.5 billion USD in revenue. It's a massive 41.6% year-over-year growth, just huge.
41%, wow.
Yeah. And investor perception definitely reflects this divergence. Intel stock has underperformed TSMC by over 50% since 2023. That signals pretty significant investor skepticism about Intel's competitive position, especially in this new AI-driven world.
Okay, so if Intel's IDM model, once its strength, is now struggling, what's the fundamental reason? Why has this once dominant strategy become such a liability for them, particularly against TSMC's model serving everyone from Apple to NVIDIA and AMD?
Well, that's really the core question, isn't it? Intel's model requires them to invest massive capital in both design and manufacturing, but primarily for their own products. That makes them inherently less agile. TSMC, on the other hand, specializes purely in manufacturing, just that. And this allows them to achieve incredible R&D efficiency. They're producing advanced nodes like their 3nm and 2nm at something like 30% lower cost per wafer than Intel's equivalent 3nm process.
30% lower cost per wafer, that's significant.
It's huge. Plus, their mastery of extreme ultraviolet, or EUV technology, and their sheer global manufacturing scale is a massive competitive advantage, because they spread those enormous R&D costs and investments across a vast client base, constantly pushing the cutting edge for everyone.
Okay, given that picture, it makes you wonder, how did TSMC achieve such a formidable lead in the first place? And maybe more importantly, what are they doing now to maintain it in this hyper-competitive environment?
Right. TSMC's dominance, it's multifaceted. It's driven by their technological foresight, their aggressive investment strategy, and frankly, the absolutely insatiable demand for cutting-edge chips right now. Their singular focus on pure manufacturing allows for that unparalleled scale and R&D efficiency, which is crucial, especially in this AI era.
You mentioned nodes like 3nm, 5mm. Can you quickly unpack what that means for our listeners?
Sure. When we talk about nanometer nodes like 3nm or 5mm, we're referring to the incredibly tiny size of the transistors on a chip. Generally, the smaller the number, the more transistors you can pack in. And more transistors usually mean greater power, more speed, and better energy efficiency, which is exactly what the AI world is just starving for right now. And for TSMC, their advanced nodes, specifically 3nm and 5mm, now command a remarkable 73% of their total wafer sales. Their 3nm process is already in commercial production.
73% from just those advanced nodes. That's incredible focus. And they're not slowing down on innovation, are they? What's next on their roadmap?
Not slowing down at all. Mass production of their sophisticated 2nm process, they call it N2, is expected to begin later in 2025.
Yeah.
And this isn't just, a new number. It promises significantly better density and maybe 30% lower power use than Intel's equivalent 3nm process. Which means devices will run cooler, batteries will last longer, and they'll deliver more raw processing power. It really solidifies their lead where it counts most. And beyond that, their 1.6mm node, or A16, is already slated for 2026. This aggressive roadmap just highlights their commitment to staying ahead technologically.
That's incredible. And it seems like AI is really the primary engine driving all this demand for them.
It absolutely is. TSMC's advanced CoWoS packaging, that's a way of assembling chips together, and their 3nm nodes are responsible for something like an astonishing 90% of AI accelerator chips. Think of powerhouses like NVIDIA's H100 and AMD's MI300X. TSMC makes the core silicon for almost all of them.
90%, wow.
Yeah, and the supply of that CoWoS packaging, which is crucial for these high-performance AI chips, it remains incredibly tight just due to this overwhelming demand. Financially, TSMC recently raised its 2025 U.S. dollar-based sales growth forecast to 30%. They were initially projecting maybe 24 or 26%. And that jump is almost entirely due to this robust demand for advanced process technologies, particularly in AI and high-performance computing, or HPC.
So AI is clearly the engine. But we live in a world of, complex geopolitics. How is TSMC ensuring its global supply chain remains resilient against all these external pressures?
That's a really critical strategic pivot for them. TSMC is actively expanding its global footprint. They're doing it to insulate themselves from geopolitical risks and also just to meet the growing demand everywhere. This includes their big fabs in Arizona. They're projected to have 3nm production running by 2025 and 2nm by 2026. The aim is to have about 30% of their 2nm and even more advanced capacity located right there in Arizona.
30% outside Taiwan for the most advanced stuff. That's a big shift.
It is, and they're also building in Japan. And they have an $11 billion joint venture plant going up in Dresden, Germany. That one's focused on MCUs, microcontrollers, and it's being supported by a significant $5 billion contribution from the German government.